Oh, okay, great. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. And thank you for being here for our story of hope, healing, and belonging. My name is Charmaine Magumbe, and I'll be your host today and reading the story for today. One of the stories is going to be on hair. And as they say, hair today, gone tomorrow. Um, Anyhow, I just wanted to. Last week I was wearing, or the 2 weeks ago, I was wearing something on my head wrap, African head wrap, and today I thought, since we're going to be having a story about hair, that I would talk a little bit before we go into the story about my own hair, which my hair right now is natural, and um, as a Black person, we do have shorter, curly, or thick hair. And I was privileged that when I was growing up, my mom's a hairdresser. So that meant my hair was always being done by a professional. And every day before going to school, my mom would comb my hair. And because it was natural, very thick, and when it's thick like this, it's when the knots curl, it becomes it can be, or it is very painful to comb. So every day she used to comb my hair before going to school. And every day before school, I would cry because it was so painful to comb out all the curls and put them in bow. But anyhow, needless to say, that when you have hair like that, it's sometimes very difficult to comb. And so the one time I had a sleepover at my aunt's house, and I had to go to school that day. And I told my aunt, I said, my mom doesn't comb my hair before going to school. She just lets me wear my hair like this. And so she called my mom and said, is this true that, and my mom was like, no, she combs her hair every day. And then sure enough, my aunt had to comb my hair. And was not I was not pretty pleased about that, but needless to say, yeah. So that's my hair story. Now, the first story that we're going to have is called, and we're just going to put it up on the screen. It's definitely it's called Hair Love, and it's by Matthew A. Cherry. So Hair Love. My name is Zuri, and I have hair that has a mind of its own. It's kinks, coils, and curls every which way. Daddy tells me it is beautiful, which of course it is. That makes me proud. I love that my hair lets me be me in funky braids with beads. I am a princess. And when my hair is in two puffs, I'm above a cloud like a superhero. My hair even does magic tricks. One day, Rocky and I were playing outside when along came the rain. From large to small, it went. Presto, just like that. There is nothing my hair can't do. Today, I woke today I woke up extra early, all by myself. I can't read that last word there. I was too excited to sleep. It's a big day. Daddy was still sleeping. Shh, I said to Rocky as we tiptoe past him. Lately, Daddy has been worn out. He makes me breakfast, takes me to school, goes to work, picks me up, and yesterday we went for a bike ride around the park. I think he needs a break. Don't you? That's a lot of work, isn't it? Because today is special. I want a perfect hairstyle, and this is called for a professional touch. I pause off, Rocky. Daddy heard the crash. Zuri, what on earth? He asked. I was only trying to help, I said, and Daddy smiled. Can I help too? It will be a piece of cake, Zuzu. The first style was his no way. The second was no better. No, Daddy. I gotta get this off. Then Daddy hit the hair back and said, ouch. Daddy yelled. Wait a minute, Daddy said, as reached down into the drawer and pulled out a pig. Ta-da! Daddy, really? I said. I'll be right back, he promised. I love that hairdo. The afro, 100%. I would have said Daddy really too. Nah, how's that? Pulls a hat down over my eyes. Daddy, come on. We can do better than that. I really need my hair to be special. Don't worry, he said. We'll figure this out. Then I had a great idea. Daddy gathered all the tools we needed, and we were set. Now that is what I use. I have a comb just like that. Actually, I should have brought it. And you had to put special cream in your hair. When your hair is that thick, you have to use a special cream to soften it up, to comb it, because otherwise, like I said, you cry bloody murder. So anyhow, that's exactly what you need to do when you comb thick hair like this. Watching carefully, Daddy combed, parted, oiled, and twisted. He nailed it. Funky, puffy buns. Pretty, and so much fun. Rocky approved too. Yay! I put on my super cap as the final touch to a perfect look. Click. When my Zuzu, where is my Zuzu? Mommy called out from the door. She could not get in the house fast enough. Mommy, you got to be the prettiest Supergirl I've ever seen, she said. Yay. And your hair is beautiful, Zuri. Who did it? I looked at Daddy and beamed. Mommy smiled. Very nice. Thank you. Something can't read. And Daddy said as he gave her a big hug.
We learn from the best.
Oh, we learn from the best, which I can't read. As he said, we learn from the best. My hair is Mommy, Daddy, and me. It's hair love. Selfie. Sometimes love looks like braids, puffs, and twists. And I think that's the end. I think that's the end, right? Now, does anybody want to have any comments about the hair? Anybody want to make any comments about the book?
And if not, I'm also wondering if you want to read both stories, just because I
Okay.
know there's some kids here, and then we can have a conversation about everything after. But certainly, if anyone has
Sure.
anything they want to say now, that's fine.
Okay, we'll go into the second book called Princess Hair. Okay, Princess Hair. All princesses wear crowns, but beneath the crown, not all princesses have the same hair. Some princesses wear puffs and play pretend. Others wear twist out and around. Can't read that word. Princes with dreadlocks love to draw and draw and draw. Princes with kicks love to think and think and think. Princesses with head wraps take long naps. Princesses with afros do do-si-dos because they love to dance. Princesses with braid throw a parade. Woo! Party hardy. Yay. Princess with blowout bounce and bounce and bounce. Like the 5 little monkeys in the bed bouncing. And nappy princes are happy princes. Yay, happy, happy, happy. Not every princess has the same hair, but every princess loves her princess hair. And I think that's everything. It's the princess hair. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to do the Zoom. So is there any questions or comments you'd like to make about the two stories on hair?
Could you share the author's name for Princess Hair?
Yeah, sure. Hannah will share it with you.
Marie Miller.
Marie Miller.
Put it in the chat too.
There you go.
So just in regarding to the first one, Hair Love, Blacks or African American, African Canadians with kinky short hair like myself, when we're growing up, we have to put the oil in our hair because our hair is very dry. And just like her father, at the first, he was doing all those different styles and it wasn't really working for her. And then he got the comb, the big comb, and they call it oil that we have to put in our hair. So they part it, they'll part the hair and they put the oil on the scalp and it makes it easier to comb. So that's one of the things that is done on a very regular basis. Otherwise our hair is, it will be too dry. And I remember one time when I was very young, I had one of my friends. She was a white girl, and she had come and visited us, and she saw my mom do my hair, parting, putting the oil in. And then when I went to her house, she asked if I could do her hair and if I could do the same thing, part and put the oil in. And of course, I didn't know that white people don't do that. So here I am. I had my oil that I use, and I started parting her hair and putting in this greasy oil in her hair. And it was so greasy. And then her mom, after, she said, "What are you doing?" And we're like, she just wanted to do her hair like my hair, like do it the same way. And it was so greasy. I mean, her mom must have washed her hair like 10 times to take out all that grease. It was like just, it was a very interesting day for the poor girl, but anyhow. So
Yeah.
that's just something that's happened to me when I was younger. But
I think a point that came up in one of our chats beforehand talked about the fact that moms are usually the ones, and even in your story, Charmaine, you're talking about it was always your mom who did your hair, right? And so just that in that first story where the dad has to do it and has to actually learn how to do it, where it just seems like it's just natural that moms would always do it and they know what they're doing, and we trust them to know what they're doing, but the dads not so much. So maybe if there's any dads out there.
well, actually, Angela, that's a really good point, because like I said, my mom was a hairdresser. So I always had my hair done at a hairdressing salon. First it was at home, and then we went to her salon when we got older. So because of that, unfortunately, I did not learn how to do my own hair, which was the issue. It was a big issue, because when I had 4 girls, I had difficulties with their hair because I did not know how to do their own hair. And it was like such a big challenge. It did not go well. But so for fathers out there, or especially people who don't know how to comb, maybe they have a biracial child, a lot of YouTube's out there to show you how to do it properly.
Yeah, these days we have YouTube, thank goodness.
Yes, thank you. Thankfully.
I was drawn to that part of the story too, Angela, this idea of the gender roles and how nice it is to see that there was this beautiful story of this connection of the father and the daughter, and even her empathy for the dad. You know, she talked about how hard he worked and that she was wanting to try to do that on her own. And it just really spoke to the relationship. But it was lovely that it kind of stepped out of the gender norms. So I was pleased with that.
Yeah, me too.
And really, like with this second story where we're talking about all the different kinds of hair and what that means, but that underneath we're all princesses. And I think that's kind of the underlying message for that one, is that no matter what you look like, what your hair looks like, or whatever, it's what's inside you, it's what's in your heart that makes you who you are. And I thought that was a really poignant part of that story for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also really like how the princesses are depicted as doing all different kinds of things, because I know my first gut reaction when we started looking at these 2 books, that they're both books about girls being princesses. And so my first reaction was to think, well, use an intersectional approach and think about why this is a problem. So many stories are about girls and as being princesses. And there's a really interesting YouTube video you can watch about a mother and her daughter pulling books off the shelf in a library. And by the time they've taken away all the books related about boys, there's few left. And then when you start to take away all the books about princesses, there's very few left. And they kind of go through these different. So that was my first reaction. But then when I started to think about it a little bit more this week after reading the book last week, I also started to think about stereotypes in the media. And so how you need to also remember that, representations of young girls, especially young Black girls, are not very prevalent. And so I think this idea of reinforcing that every little girl is beautiful in their own way is an important story to tell. And so I really liked how even though it was a princess story, it really did show that princesses can do all kinds of things. So I like how that was a bit of a twist on the normal princess narrative of being this helpless girl.
Yeah, and that's actually when you say that, that's actually what put me in mind of what I had emailed to you about the paper bag princess, and hopefully that's a story that we're going to do in the upcoming weeks. But yeah, that totally blows the whole gender roles out of the water. That story, when talking about, you know, what is a princess and what do they do, and how is that different from what boys do if they become princes, and so yeah, I love the fact that there's, you know, all kinds of different facets to what you can do regardless.
And Yvonne just shared in the chat, thank you, Yvonne, an article on the BBC about, it's called Crossing Divides, York Dad's Hair School Brings Family Closer. So it's about dads coming together to learn how to do their daughter's hairdo. We can post that on the Facebook link too.
I like that.
Is there any other comments? Yeah, just in what Angela and Hannah is saying about Black images for girls, is really important to have the positive images that are portrayed in books, and not just the negative stereotypes that you see of Black women in the media. So like you said, having the different perspectives of not just the kind of hair you had, but also more than that, is what you have inside. And another thing that I thought was really interesting with that princess hair was the fact that they also talked about when they said the blowout hair, which is Black Canadians, 90% of the time they have hair that's very thick like this. It looks like this, or it could be longer, but it takes work to make it look more manageable. So the blowout hair is a lot of the times when you do see Blacks with the long hair that looks European, it could be either that they permed it, they blowed it out with a hair blower and combed it out to make it a little bit more easable to use, or they have, unfortunately, the wig. They do wear wigs when they get older. Young children, they don't recommend that, the chemicals or the wig, because it does damage your hair. And the concerning thing is, for a Black person like myself, is when you do that to your hair, you do damage it. And it's so important that you keep it, I believe, as natural as possible, because that makes you connect with your insides to say, I'm a Black woman and my hair is natural and it's not Europeanized to make it look European. So lately, because of movies like Black Panther, where in that movie they showed strong Black women, and it's not that negative stereotypes where these Black women are scientists, intellectuals, they're leaders. And in that movie, the Black Panther, all of the women from the in the cast that have leading roles, they all have their hair natural. And I believe that since that movie, I do see a lot more Black women wearing a more natural look that is not blown, has a blowout, as she called it. Yeah, the blowout, that they either have it in the buns, or they have it in the braids, or they have it in the dreadlocks, or they just wear it kinky, afro, whatever. And I believe when I see that, that's a woman who's comfortable with being who she is as a Black woman. I do struggle with seeing a lot of, unfortunately, young people wearing the blowout, I mean, especially the wigs, and make them looking very European-like, and that's a problem. So it's good to see this story having that in there.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Black Panther, because I believe there's one scene in there where they're trying to be in disguise and they're wearing the wigs, and they're like, you could tell they're like so uncomfortable with having to do it, and the minute they can get it off, it's like gone.
Yeah. It was Lupita, and there is a scene where she goes, "Yes," and she goes, right? It's so funny. I just love that part of the movie. It's so hilarious. So yeah.
Yeah, I love in that book how it shows that, you know, you can have whatever hair you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love it.
Anyone else have any reflections, thoughts, questions? We've got a few more minutes. So
Go ahead.
I really like the stories.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. It's so nice to have you here.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
Great.
I enjoyed the illustrations in the hair love, just how soothing they were and how connected you could feel to that story too. And I think as we work with children, like they can connect to that story because they have their own hair, or they have their own connection to getting hair knots. And being Indigenous, how hair is important to us too. So there's different connections that that's what I really appreciated about both those stories. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you. And just talking about what you just said, what's your name, by the way?
I'm Leanne. I'm on my work computer, so it says staff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hair in any culture, women's hair is really important to how, you know, what they do or what they do with their hair. Having said that, African Canadians hair, it's expensive, to say the least, to have that, to have the European type look, the fake long hair. It's very expensive, and you know, that's why it's good to see women, Black women, keeping their hair as natural as possible. So I enjoyed the stories because it was especially the princess hair, and the 7 points, almost 7 or 8 points, most of them had their hair natural. Only the one was the blowout hair, and so it was good to see that they had it. You could accept yourself with your kinky hair, and I think as an Indigenous woman, I'm not sure. Is it the dyeing of the hair? Because is it? I don't know. Like with
Well, it's just the braids and not cutting your hair, and yeah. So there's lots of different. Your hair is very strong when you braid it together, right? Versus a single strand, and
Right.
yeah, there's lots of different things about our hair too. So
right.
yeah. So and right now mine's starting to go very gray, but
It
yeah.
looks good. It looks good.
Yeah.
It's good gray. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Charmaine, and everyone for joining us. It was really lovely conversation and great stories, and really nice to see you all. We'll be back again in 2 weeks, same time, same place. So hope we can see you all then.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.
Everybody, thanks.
Okay.